showed them, I did the math for them and showed them how many milligrams of CBD could possibly be in there. Mm-hmm. And, it was extremely low. 1,000 milligrams of CBD could be, in a bottle like that, could be 50 milligrams of CBD. Of the hemp oil. Or less. It could actually have no CBD. So and hemp oil is good. It does have the omega fatty acids, so it's good for your skin. But as far as getting the anti-inflammatory effects or the anti-anxiety effects, just not really going to be there. There is going to be some of the placebo effect that you're going to get from it. And I've seen that too. We have some customers that literally take 1 drop of CBD twice a day and are getting great results from it. So that's great.
Whatever works,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you said that they brought in a bottle of 1,000 milligrams, and you said, you did a calculation.
I did a calculation to show them.
How did you do that calculation?
Just figured out if it had 5 to 10%. I figured a 5 to 10%, which is actually kind of high because that's if you take the entire, entire plant without the flowers, you would get the stalks and everything else. You'd get about 5 to 10% CBD.
Yeah. They
actually compress seeds to get that, out. So it really depends on the genetics of the seed as to how much CBD, but you're just really taking the base oil. And like Justin said earlier, the hemp oil is the base oil of a lot of our products, but then they go in and take the extra step of adding the CBD to it. Yes. So the CBD is an addition to the hemp oil, where these companies are selling the base oil but not adding the CBD and still actually presenting it to you, the consumer, as it's CBD, which is just not the case.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to clarify, that's because they're using certain parts of the plant to extract the CBD. And when they use the whole plant, it's just all of the plant matter. In
some cases,
compounds.
you could be getting the hemp oil after they've extracted the CBD. It's still hemp oil.
Yeah.
So they've taken the CBD out. They have this extra oil. It's just a byproduct of that manufacturing process, and they're just selling you the leftovers, and you're assuming that you're getting the the CBD first run product, and that's just not the case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Poor people. But that's why we're here, right? To share the knowledge and teach everybody how to look for CBD. So CBD in gas stations, that's big. That's huge right now. I think everyone's wondering if they should purchase that and if there's CBD in it. And I think with the class actions going on and just the news in general that they're testing CBD companies and finding CBD in some, but CBD not in others, it's definitely... we should definitely advise to be skeptical about the CBD in the gas stations.
I would tell people to buy your CBD in a CBD station and your gas at a gas station.
Right.
I don't think Justin and I are planning on selling gasoline anytime soon, having your cars pull up to sell that. I think, stick with what you know. You go into a gas station that sells, 500,000 gallons a week of gas, and you ask them about CBD. If you really think that you're going to get a legit answer and they're going to match your needs with a product, then you're kind of barking up the wrong tree there.
Yeah.
So, I would say we do have some specialty retailers. Lassen's is one that comes to mind. Lassen's has a very good supplement department where a lot of their folks are very educated. I had some, before I started getting into CBD, I actually went in and asked some questions and got some very good informative answers from the employees there.
Oh,
and I'm sure there's a ton of places out there. So I'm not here trying to say that we're the only place. There's a lot of great spots to get CBD, and we're starting to see that there's a number of locations around town. Just make sure, I just want our customers to make sure that they are getting what, one of our things, we kind of treat our customers like our friends and family, and it upsets me when people get taken for their hard-earned money.
Right.
So it's very frustrating to see that.
Yeah. The Whole Foods stores and grocery stores were both places that we've seen CBD sold. And that's good to know that the staff is really knowledgeable at the Whole Foods. I don't know if it's the same for grocery stores. What I've seen at grocery stores is just a case of CBD products, and then you just go ask the teller.
Our Albertsons that's by our house actually has CBD there, and their manager shops with us.
Oh, how funny.
So if that kind of tells you.
Well, right, because have you looked at the products?
So I haven't seen quite.
Okay, so if you look at the products, if you read the labels, which I hope everyone does, and the prices, nothing really matches up. You look at the back. I was just talking to Justin here about soft gels. Mm-hmm. So the dosage was take 6 soft gels. I don't want to take 6 any pill, but that's the dosage, and you get 30 milligrams of CBD total. And the bottle was like $30.
Wow.
So it's interesting. Definitely read the back, because the front will say so much CBD or CBD just in general, but it doesn't clarify. Or
it has 200 capsules, but in those capsules you're not getting
exactly.
That's why they're
1 week supply.
That's why they're saying you have to take 6 of them just to equal 1 dose of what you normally should get out of 1 capsule.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't be certain that every single Whole Food store is going to have knowledgeable staff and be able to tell you,
right,
where this product is coming from, if it's lab tested.
Yeah, and
you guys are actually here meeting with your vendors,
right? And then kind of going back to like being sold at a gas station, like the analogy I've used is like gas stations sell milk too, but where do you normally get your milk from? The actual grocery store.
Right.
So that's kind of what we are. We're that store. We specialize in that. So you come here, to get something that and you actually have a choice too, like a variety of things to choose from that best suit your needs. Something like a gas station is going to have 2 or 3 items that are just kind of there, as an afterthought. Here, you're going to have many more items to, like I said, our goal is to zero in on those needs that you're looking to treat. And some people aren't always a candidate for capsules or just the tinctures, things like that. There's other things that might work better for them in their lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So we have those options here, whereas, a lot of places, like smaller places like the gas stations, aren't going to have that. You have this or that's it. That's all we have.
Right. And once you start doing your research and seeing the CBD in these places, I think you'll start to notice a trend in brands. Gas stations or smoke shops, they're all going to carry probably similar brands to each other. Mm-hmm. But if you go into an actual CBD shop, you will not see those brands.
Right, and I think Ted could speak on this a little bit more. It's because
there's a reason behind it.
Because smoke shops are going to stick with what they know. And a lot of vape companies are coming out with their own CBD products. So it's kind of an easy transition, for them just to be, okay, this company, I've been buying my vape juice from them for the X amount of years. Now they have CBD, so I might as well attach them to the shop as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because all these gas stations and vape shops, they're all buying from the same distributors.
Exactly, that sell their cigarettes and
other
type stuff. Yeah.
And the distributors carrying the same 5 CBD brands or whatever number it is. So that's what they're all choosing from. So you're not going to see any of those brands in a place like this because.
And a lot of those brands that are branching off from these vape companies, we're getting into something completely different too, as the full spectrum products. You're not going to see a lot of those brands having true full spectrums coming from vape companies because they're going to want to stay away from anything that has to do with THC at all. So if you're somebody who wants a whole plant product that has all the cannabinoids and everything else that are beneficial on top of the CBD, that's one thing that you're going to rarely get at a lot of those places because they're just transitioning straight over from vape juice companies right into their isolate-based products.
Right.
Which there's nothing wrong with isolate-based products, but you're just not going to have that option.
Right.
And to choose between something that if you want the whole plant, if you want all those other cannabinoids and everything, you have that option here rather than just being pigeonholed into a isolate-based product. Right.
And it's easy to put a small percent of that full spectrum oil into your product and label it as full spectrum when it's not. Right. Truly a full spectrum product.
Exactly.
And I think that's when we get into the whole regulation things and stuff right now about what you can label and not label because going back to the whole Wild West of everything, anybody can slap full spectrum on there, but you got to think, is it a true full spectrum? And then,
right. I think there needs to be like a base of a percent, that you're allowed to call full spectrum.
Exactly. Or, then you get in the broad spectrum of everything, all the cannabinoids without the THC, which is kind of the best from both worlds. When you're looking at people that are concerned about drug testing and things like that, they can still get a lot of those cannabinoids and beneficial elements just without the THC. So, the specialty, go back to the whole thing I was saying before, that the specialty per person thing that you can get here for what suits you the best is kind of the biggest difference between a shop that specializes in CBD versus a shop where CBD is kind of a extra thing, or afterthought or things like that.
And I think another thing about the CBD products in these places is where the CBD is coming from. A lot of these big name branded CBD companies are sourcing their CBD from American grown hemp, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of vape shops, the products are imported.
Correct.
So I think what we can assume is the CBD is also imported, which means it's coming from Asia, Europe, places like that, where the soil really isn't where we want to be putting our plants.
And the regulations aren't as stringent as well.
Right.
And, being
the growing regulations.
The hemp plant is a very thirsty plant. It will bring up any kind of heavy metals or any pesticides that are in the ground. So that's a very legitimate concern is, what is actually in there. Not only, is there THC or not, but what about heavy metals,
that's
pesticides?
The big concern.
There's a number of different things that
and,
pop up like that.
And that soil, we've harvested all kinds of plants in those parts of the country or those parts of the world. So, it's definitely going to make a difference when you have a cleaner soil.
Right. Not only that, right now, like federal guidelines, if I'm not mistaken, you can't even import the. You can only import the stalk of hemp. You can't import the flower, the leaves, anything from overseas. So
really?
The quality of CBD that's in the stalk is very, very low compared to what's in the actual buds of the hemp plant. So if you're getting your CBD from overseas, that's all going to come from the stalk of the plant, and that's not going to be good quality CBD at all.
Yeah, very low rich, not rich at all.
Right. So if it's going to be a company that's based overseas that's making CBD products, you can almost guarantee they're getting some cheap hemp that's not grown, in the United States, where we're getting more regulations where things are more like the quality of the product is much better.
Yeah.
So making sure your hemp and the products come from U.S. grown hemp is a huge deal.
Right. It is really important. I think. I always try to tell people to look at the label because it should say, where the hemp is sourced from. And if it doesn't, and you can't find it online, maybe think twice about that product.
Right.
The dispensaries selling CBD. I know we live in a town where our dispensaries have been shut down. But before they were shut down, it was also a pretty common place to get your CBD products. Did you guys were still running the CBD shop downtown? We were. Mm-hmm. Did you guys get a lot of customers switching over to you guys?
We did have some customers, especially as some of these dispensaries we shut down. And the perspective from those customers is pretty unique in the fact that a lot of those customers believe that just CBD isolate alone in the absence of THC would not give you any benefits whatsoever, that it was completely useless. And I'd have to tell, we actually started a wall of customer testimonies, and I would point at our wall and say, well, I have a ton of customers that would have to tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
At that point, we sold the majority of our products were THC free. But just coming out of that, that type of business, their product is, THC. And so therefore they're going to tell you that, and there is some truth to, having the entourage effect and, having it, it does, help out. And a lot of our customers do report a little bit better sleep, with products that contain the 3% or 0.03% of THC. It obviously is not enough to get you, to change you psychoactively. You're not going to get high off of taking that amount. And in order for you to fail a drug test, you have to be a perfect storm. You'd have to consume a large volume of it.
Yeah.
Per se.
Yeah, I think just across the board, if you're buying CBD from a dispensary, just be careful. If you live in a place where the dispensaries are legal, it's probably going to be safe because the BCC regulates those stores, yes. Which means they regulate those products, which isn't really usually hemp that they're regulating. It's more of the cannabis. But those companies usually have a CBD line too. Mm-hmm. So since they're reputable on that side, you can usually trust their CBD side too. But
I would say just make sure you're going to a reputable store.
Yeah,
that is regulated by.
Yeah, so if you're living in an area where your cannabis stores are not regulated and not allowed, you're probably going to have street products. Mm-hmm. So who knows what kind of CBD is going to be in there if it is.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So those are a lot of the spots that we can purchase CBD. I think we already covered the grounds that you guys have a staff that is very knowledgeable. What steps do you guys take to ensure that your staff is knowledgeable and can advise on every product in here? Because you guys have a lot of products.
We have our employees will mirror. We have them for about 3 to 4 weeks. They typically will mirror another employee. We'll never have them alone without. We, give them information that we get from our vendors as well as some online different things. We have videos that play in our store, quite often that are very informative as well. And a lot of times during that 1 month of, onboarding process, they learn a lot just being with Justin or myself or one of our other employees who has a ton of knowledge. And you'd be amazed if you were to shadow us for a day and find out how many different unique situations we address in a day and how the CBD can help, or customers that are coming back after they've tried our CBD and given us feedback so that we know what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
We also have a kiosk out in the Valley Plaza. The kiosk in the Valley Plaza is kind of our training ground as well, because the level of customer, questions out there, you get customers that walk by all day long. So you're not necessarily having them stop and come in your store. They're just walking right by and doing that. And so they get, they also are shadowed out there and just get a ton of questions where they can ask and interact with our trained employees and go that. And so Justin and I make the decisions on when we will cut them loose and let them, work by themselves. We have to have a comfort feeling and watch them, for a while to do that. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And then we talked a little bit about this in the beginning, but what kind of process do you guys have when you're looking into accepting a product into the store?
Typically, our vendors will usually we ask for samples